Welcome. This is a product overview of ComplianceForge's NIST 853 Revision 5, moderate baseline version of the Cybersecurity Standardized Operating Procedures, which we call the CSOP. Over the next few minutes, we will walk through what it is, what problems it solves, exactly what is included, and why procedures matter for being both secure and compliant. The CSOP is an editable cybersecurity and privacy procedures template that aligns with the NIST 853 moderate baseline. It has a one-to-one mapping to the standards within the NIST 853 moderate version of the Cybersecurity and Data Protection Program, the CDPP. It leverages the NIST Cybersecurity Workforce Framework for roles and responsibilities, and it delivers immense time and cost savings, enabling your subject matter experts to fill in the details that only they know. Your NIST 853 policies define what is required, but when an assessor asks how each control is actually performed, who owns it, and how often, can you show it? Procedures are the evidence of implementation that audits depend on, and they are usually the gap. The CSOP gives you a running start. Editable, step-by-step procedures, mapped one-to-one to the NIST 853 moderate CDPP standards, using the NIST Workforce Framework for roles and responsibilities. The templates get you roughly 80 to 90% of the way there, and then your subject matter experts fill in the details only they know. Some context on why NIST 853 matters. NIST is on the 5th revision of Special Publication 853, Security and Privacy Controls for Information Systems and Organizations. From Revision 4 to Revision 5, NIST dropped the U.S. government focus and now has it generalized enough for private industry to use. NIST 853 best practices are the de facto standard for private businesses that do business with the U.S. federal government. One thing to keep in mind is that NIST 853 is a superset of ISO 27002. You will find all the components of ISO 27002 covered by NIST 853, but not the other way around. The Federal Information Security Management Act, FISMA, and the Department of Defense Risk Management Framework rely on the NIST 853 framework. And for NIST 80171, NIST 853 is called out as the best practice for government contractors to secure their systems. And as with other NIST publications, it is freely available, at no cost to the public. One of the most important things to keep in mind with procedures is that the ownership is different than that of policies and standards. Standardized operating procedures are where the rubber meets the road for individual contributors, who need to know how they fit into day-to-day operations, what their priorities are, and what is expected from them in their duties. Policies, standards, and controls are designed to be centrally managed at the corporate level, for example, by the Governance, Risk, and Compliance team, or the CISO. They are expected to be published for anyone within the organization to access, since they apply organization-wide, and they are relatively static, with infrequent changes. Controls are assigned to stakeholders based on applicable statutory, regulatory, and contractual obligations. Procedures, by their very nature, are decentralized. Control implementation at the team level is defined to explain how the control is addressed, for example by the network team, desktop support, HR, or procurement. Procedures are living documents that require frequent updates, and they are often documented in team share repositories, such as a wiki, a SharePoint page, or a workflow management tool. ComplianceForge leverages the operationalizing cybersecurity planning model to create a practical view towards implementing cybersecurity requirements. The central focus of any procedures should be a capability maturity model target, which provides quantifiable expectations for people, processes, and technologies. Those objectives, in conjunction with the business plan, demonstrate evidence of due diligence on behalf of the CISO and the leadership team. And standardized operating procedures not only direct the workflow of staff personnel, the output from those procedures provides evidence of due care. So what exactly is the NIST 853 moderate version of the CSOP? As a visual, here is where the NIST 853 moderate baseline sits on the spectrum of cybersecurity frameworks. It is on the more robust side of the spectrum, based on the topics it covers. It is our leading set of NIST-based cybersecurity procedures, a comprehensive, editable, easily implemented document that contains the procedures your company needs to establish a world-class IT security program. And for companies that need to be compliant with NIST 80171, it provides coverage for the NIST 853 Revision 5 low and moderate baseline controls, so you could implement it for your NIST 800-171 compliance needs, which corresponds to CMMC 2.0. Levels 1 through 2. NIST 853 Revision 5 contains a catalog of 1,189 controls, divided into 20 control families, covering access control, audit and accountability, configuration management, incident response, supply chain risk management, and more. The moderate CSOP provides procedure statements that operationalize the low and moderate baseline subsets, which is the most common configuration outside the FedRAMP high space. The CSOP addresses the how questions in an audit, since procedures provide the means for how your organization's policies and standards are actually implemented. And the procedure statements can be cut and pasted into other tools, such as a wiki page, or left in a single document. There is no wrong answer for how procedures are maintained. The product page is specific about who this is for. NIST 853 Moderate can be used for defense contractors, government contractors, technology businesses like MSPs and CSPs, and large general business, retail, healthcare, and insurance organizations. It should not be used for smaller businesses. This product is a one-time purchase of editable Microsoft Office-based documentation templates. There is no software to install, no agent to deploy, no account to provision, and no cloud environment to configure. If your organization can open and edit Microsoft Word and Excel files, the NIST 853 Moderate version of the CSOP is ready to use. It is delivered as a fully editable Word file with a companion Excel mapping. Compatible with Word 2016 and newer, Microsoft 365, OpenOffice, LibreOffice, and Google Docs. Documentation is delivered via email download link within 1 to 2 business days of purchase. There is no installer, no license server, and no activation step. A single entity license is included with purchase. There is no recurring subscription requirement, although an optional update subscription is available to stay current as frameworks evolve. This deployment model is intentional. Procedures benefit from being in the organization's own hands, inside your own wiki, SharePoint, or document management systems, rather than locked inside a vendor's SaaS tool. Procedures are living documents that need to live where the teams that execute them work. The NIST 853 Moderate version of the CSOP addresses the most common problems organizations face when operationalizing NIST 853 controls into day-to-day procedures. The first is a lack of in-house security experience. Writing cybersecurity procedures is a skill that most cybersecurity professionals simply are not proficient at and avoid at all cost. Tasking your security analysts and engineers to write comprehensive procedure documentation means actively taking them away from protecting and defending your network, which is not a wise use of their time. The second is compliance requirements. Nearly every organization, regardless of industry, is required to have formally documented security procedures, with requirements ranging from PCI DSS to HIPAA to NIST 800-171. The third is audit failures. Security documentation does not age gracefully like a fine wine, and outdated documentation leads to gaps that expose organizations to audit failures and system compromises. And the fourth is vendor requirements. It is very common for clients and partners to request evidence of a security program, and that includes policies, standards, and procedures. Customers choose the CSOP because they have a need for comprehensive cybersecurity procedures to address their compliance needs. They need to be able to edit the document to their specific technology, staffing, and other considerations. They want documentation that is directly linked to leading frameworks like NIST 853, NIST 800-171, ISO 27002, and HIPAA, and they need an affordable and timely solution to address not having procedures. Until now, developing a template to provide worthwhile cybersecurity procedures has been somewhat of a missing link within the cybersecurity documentation industry. ComplianceForge solved this issue with the CSOP and is the only provider to have an affordable and comprehensive procedures template. It can save a business several hundred hours of work in developing control activities and procedure statements. The first outcome is clear documentation. The CSOP provides a comprehensive template for your procedures to help prove that your security program exists. That equates to a time saving of hundreds of hours and tens of thousands of dollars in staff and consultant expenses. The second is time savings. The CSOP is a templated solution that requires minimal resources to fine-tune for your organization's specific procedural needs. The third is alignment with leading practices. Because the procedure structure is built on SCF control naming, the CSOP inherits crosswalks to over 200 leading laws, regulations, and frameworks at no extra effort. And the fourth is standardized process criteria. Every procedure identifies the process owner, the process operator, the occurrence cadence, the scope of impact, the location of additional documentation, the performance target, and the technology in use. So what do you actually receive? The moderate version of the CSOP is delivered as an editable Microsoft Word document with a companion Excel mapping. Purchase includes a single entity license and the first year of product updates. The Microsoft Word procedures, a cover page and document control template, and procedure statements organized by SCF domain, mapped to the NIST 853 low and moderate baseline controls. Each procedure includes standardized fields for the process owner, operator, occurrence, scope, location, performance target, and technology in use. The Excel crosswalk mapping. Each procedure is mapped to the NIST 853, Revision 5 low and moderate baseline controls, as well as inherited crosswalks to NIST 800-171, NIST CSF, ISO 27002, HIPAA, PCI DSS, and other leading frameworks. NIST NICE Workforce Alignment. Every procedure is assigned work roles from the NIST NICE Cybersecurity Workforce Framework, so the procedures direct the work of employees and contractors, and minimize assumptions about who is responsible for what. And optionally, it pairs with the matching CDPP. The CSOP provides the procedures, the how. The companion NIST 853 moderate version of the CDPP provides the policies and standards, the why and the what, that these procedures operationalize. Most organizations purchase both as a bundle to ensure their policies and procedures stay aligned. Now compare that against the two alternatives for obtaining quality cybersecurity documentation. For your internal staff to generate comparable documentation, it would take them an estimated 600 internal staff work hours, which equates to a cost of approximately $55,000 in staff-related expenses. That is about 6 to 18 months of development time, where your staff would be diverted from other work. If you hire a consultant to generate this documentation, it would take them an estimated 400 consultant work hours, which equates to a cost of approximately $125,000. That is about 3 to 6 months of development time for a contractor to provide you with the deliverable. The NIST 853 moderate version of the CSOP is approximately 8% of the cost for your internal staff and approximately 4% of the cost for an external consultant to generate equivalent documentation. The CSOP itself is $4,700. Every procedure statement is mapped to its parent NIST 853 control. A PDF example of the procedures is available on the product page, so you can see the quality and structure before you buy. So how much work is left for you? Here's the customization process at a glance. ComplianceForge aims for approximately an 80% solution for the CSOP, since procedure templates can be more comprehensive than policy templates. ComplianceForge did the heavy lifting, and all that remains is to fine-tune procedures with the specific information that only your organization knows. In practice, customization is filling in the blanks for each procedure's standardized fields, the process owner, for example, your CISO or cybersecurity director. The process operator, for example, a SOC analyst or network admin. The occurrence cadence, annual, quarterly, monthly, or continuous. The scope of impact. The location of additional documentation. The performance target, or service level agreement. And the technology in use. If you want a hand, ComplianceForge offers optional professional services. They are not required to customize ComplianceForge documentation. The 5-hour bundle may be beneficial for companies that need some guidance on getting started with how to tailor their documentation. The 10-hour bundle is for companies that need additional guidance on tailoring their documentation to meet their compliance requirements. And the 20-hour bundle is for companies that need robust services beyond just 10 hours to assist in tailoring their documentation. Purchased professional service hours expire 120 days or 4 months from the time of purchase if unused. Hours are intended to supplement, not replace, your own customization work, since only your organization knows the exact details to tailor your documentation. There are more reasons to buy. The first is that procedures matter. Procedures operationalize policies and standards, and this is a key concept to being both secure and compliant. Organizations are often not at a loss for a set of policies, but executing those requirements falls short without documented procedures. As a visual, here's how policies and procedures relate, and where their ownership differs. Policies, standards, and controls are centrally managed at the corporate level, while procedures are decentralized and defined at the team level. Your customization is to help fill in the blanks for each procedure. The first field is the process owner. This is the name of the individual or team accountable for the procedure being performed. For example, the Chief Information Security Officer or a cybersecurity director. The process operator. This is the name of the individual or team responsible to perform the actual task, for example, a SOC analyst, a risk analyst, or a network admin. The occurrence. This is the cadence for how often the procedure needs to be performed, from annual all the way down to daily, continuous, or as needed. For example, quarterly vulnerability scans, monthly software patches, or annual risk assessments. And the scope of impact. This is whether the procedure covers purely internal processes, purely external processes, such as outsourced vendor processes, or both. The impact can cover a system, an application, a process, a team, a department, a user, a client, a vendor, a geographic region, or the entire company. The location of additional documentation. This is where additional documentation is stored or can be found. You might want to reference a wiki, a SharePoint site, or another documentation repository. The performance target. This addresses targeted timelines for the process to be completed, such as service-level agreements. Not all processes have SLAs or targeted timelines. And the technology in use. This addresses the applications, systems, and services that are available to perform the procedure. For example, Splunk as a security incident event manager to collect logs, or a file integrity monitoring tool. To help illustrate the importance of well-written procedures, here's the difference between poorly written procedures and well-written ones, using a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Not enough. Put peanut butter on bread, put jelly on bread, eat, whoops. Versus just right. Place 2 slices of bread on a plate. Open the jar of peanut butter and use a butter knife to spread approximately 2 tablespoons of peanut butter on 1 slice of bread. Spread approximately 2 tablespoons of jelly on the other slice. Put the bread slices together with the peanut butter and jelly sides facing each other. Take 1 bite-sized portion, then chew and swallow. And repeat until the sandwich is gone. Yum. That is the level of clarity your procedures need. One more reason to buy. As this diagram shows, policies, control objectives, standards, guidelines, and procedures build on each other. The companion CDPP covers the policies and standards, while the CSOP covers the procedures. The CSOP answers the how question for cybersecurity operations through documented procedures. The companion NIST 853 moderate version of the CDPP answers the why and what questions through policies, control objectives, and standards that these procedures operationalize. Buying both as a bundle is the most common configuration for organizations aligning with NIST 853. The two are intentionally mapped to each other. Every standard in the CDPP has a corresponding procedure statement in the CSOP. That relationship is what makes the documentation set audit-ready, because it provides direct evidence that policies and standards have been translated into operational practice. A key expectation of NIST 800-171 and CMMC assessors and FedRAMP reviewers. One very special aspect of the CSOP is that it leverages the NIST NICE Cybersecurity Workforce Framework. NIST released the NICE framework in 2017 with the purpose of streamlining cybersecurity roles and responsibilities. The CSOP uses the work roles identified in the NICE framework to help make assigning the tasks associated with procedures more efficient and manageable. By assigning work roles, the CSOP helps direct the work of employees and contractors to minimize assumptions about who is responsible for certain cybersecurity and privacy tasks. And keep in mind, these are merely recommendations and are fully editable for every organization. This is just a helpful point in the right direction. At the heart of it, The CSOP provides an organization with clear cybersecurity procedures that can scale to meet the needs and complexity of any team. The procedures are mapped to leading frameworks, so it is straightforward to have procedures that directly link to requirements from NIST 800-171, ISO 27002, NIST 853, and many other common statutory, regulatory, and contractual frameworks. The value of the CSOP comes from having well-constructed procedure statements that can help you become audit-ready in a fraction of the time and cost to do it yourself, or to hire a consultant to come on site and write it for you. The entire concept is focused on two things: providing written procedures to walk your team members through the steps they need to meet a requirement to keep your organization secure, and helping your company be audit-ready with the appropriate level of due diligence evidence that allows you to demonstrate your organization meets its obligations. If you have any questions, please email support@ComplianceForge.com or call 1-307-241-8740. We've been helping organizations since 2005, and we are always happy to help.